becoming a stronger ally, handling difficult situations, and building inclusive developer communities. Can you guys hear me? Okay, all right. So because we want to get through as much as we can, I'm going to quickly just start the introductions. I'm going to start with me. I'm a seasoned technologist and a passionate advocate for inclusive engineering. As an expert application engineer at Discover Financial Services, my team and I have been instrumental in shaping the Dojo coaching program. This is an immersive, hands-on learning initiative that empowers engineers to grow through real-time collaboration, experimentation, and mentorship. So I take pride not only from my technical depth, but also for my ability to foster inclusive, psychologically safe environments where product engineering teams thrive. Spencer?
Sat, that is very impressive. I am less impressive. So I have 20 or so years software experience, worked at Discover all that time. I've been a coach, a trainer, a senior developer, all this stuff. Recently, I lead a team of expert coaches that go around and teach all the product teams how to do stuff the right way. Sat's one of those experts. Lee used to be one of those experts. Now she does similar stuff. But yeah, so I'm passionate about the teaching and helping people become their best. And I often learn the most from the people that I'm supposed to be teaching.
Lee?
Awesome. Hello, my name is Li He. I'm a program manager at Discover. Over the last 2 decades, I have been working with a wide range of teams delivering software products and services. So today, I'm really looking forward to this session to work with my colleagues, Seth and Spencer. They are also my allies. We will walk through a few examples, real-world scenarios, and talk through, what is really like being stronger allies for your teams. So with that, Seth, take it away from here.
Thank you, Lee. So for our workshop, I'm going to just talk through the goals. The first goal is to equip you or us, all of us, with practical strategies. That doesn't mean that we're going to handing you out a pre-written script. Instead, through meaningful discussions of the real-world scenarios, which we'll see, we will collectively identify and understand effective ways to respond. So this is about building your confidence to navigate these complex moments. Second, we want to ensure you feel you can apply these strategies in the real world. So by working through these scenarios together, our aim is to build a shared understanding and the muscle memory that is needed to act thoughtfully and effectively when you back with your teams. And finally, our ultimate purpose is to foster inclusivity for all team discussions. This is the why behind our conversation today. It's about making psychological safety an active, daily practice to build teams where everyone can contribute their best work. With that, the learning objectives. First, we'll see some real-world scenarios where we break down complex scenarios to clearly see the dynamics at play. Next, we will collectively develop practical strategies. Through our discussion, we will build a shared playbook of effective, actionable responses. We will also connect these actions to the benefits of inclusivity, understanding how psychological safety directly fuels innovation and team performance. That's really important. And finally, our goal is to build that one team. This is about turning individual actions into shared culture of trust where everyone belongs. So with these objectives in mind, let's dive into our first scenario. Spencer, can you talk to us about the first scenario?
I would love to. Okay. So real scenario that I have lived, probably you all have lived. I've been a remote employee for about 17 years. Most of that time, I was the only remote person on the team. So this is one that speaks to me very much. So here's the scenario. You've got 3 people in office, 3 people that are remote on this team. Isaac, Ivy, and Isabel, they're in the office. They get to go to, of course, all the formalized meetings, but they also have those moments when they get to chat with each other outside of meetings. So they're talking about their personal lives, or they're talking about, I need help with this thing, so I stop by your desk, those kind of interactions that the remote folks don't have. So the remote guys, Ramesh, Robert, Rebecca, they of course go to all the formal meetings, but they don't get the water cooler moments. Like, it's not just a natural, oh, I stopped by your desk, or do you want to go to lunch kind of situations. So in this situation, where the team is not focused on making sure that everybody's included. What could happen is you basically have 4 teams instead of 1 team. You got the 1 team of 3, they work really well together and they talk together all the time, they know each other. And then you have the 3 remote people that are kind of each their own team. This is how I have felt in the past, where my team would actually like plan team outings and stuff. Again, remember, I was the only remote one. They would plan team outings and things kind of behind my back, or they kind of wouldn't want to tell me they were doing team outings because then I might feel bad or something, but then it just became weird. So has anybody been in this kind of situation on a team where you have at least 1 remote person? Very common today, right? So let's, a couple questions. So how does the virtual physical split affect the team? I'll run around with a mic because I know you're all super eager to talk. So raise of hand, how does, like what are the dynamics here that you've experienced?
It's very informal, just
Yeah,
speak your mind.
I'll tell you.
We want to hear it.
Hold on, we got, oh, I was by the speaker. That was close. All right, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm still remote, so I do feel things. Like most prominently, what I feel is sometimes you get the information about something that was done in silos, which is good. Like when you want to pair with somebody at the office, when you go into a meeting, then you come to know something was already done, and I wish I was there. That's one thing. Second thing, like there was an open conference, there was a meeting. I was like, oh, I want to be there, but the logistics are not ready. We don't have enough space, so you get sidelined about this. So it just feels that being there would have been helpful, but it is what it is.
Our experience has been that the internal teams sit near each other and make decisions, and they don't do those out in public. They make those decisions internally. And so we don't even see that the conversation happened until later.
Yeah, so I take it you're remote.
Yes.
All right, thanks, Steve, for being the runner. Yeah, I've seen that a ton. So again, you don't feel like you're on the same team sometimes. Decisions are made without you even knowing about it. Anything else? Okay, so what do we think can be done to mitigate these problems, to make things better for the remote folks, and obviously for the in-person people too, because they're missing out on insights and thoughts and contributions from the remote people sometimes when they have those spontaneous in-person meetings. So any ideas on how we can kind of bridge the gap there?
Go ahead, speak.
Say that again.
I just said like something like a informal coffee break sessions with the team. No agenda. I just talk through, maybe just to have some icebreaker to start with, and then go from there.
Has anyone tried this before, like a virtual happy hour kind of a thing?
Yeah, I have 2 ideas. I think one is that, and I think that like I'm sort of competing. Part of me wants to be to the point productive, but the other hand, there's also a lot of value in, like you said, in building relationships and trust. Just because when you're BSing and talking about other things, it helps later have serious conversations or focused conversations. So I think that I saw a couple things that worked, and one is in stand-ups you don't immediately, all right, let's get to work, let's go out, and that goes against everything that is agile, and that goes against whatever. But I think it also promotes the ability to just make it possible for the remote and even the people that are in well, I guess less if you're in person, but have some conversation there. And I think the other thing is we used to, especially during the pandemic, it slowed down a lot, but we used to have these sessions where, just a weekly, there was a board, we went through, everyone shared something, and it was dumb. And it at the time, it kind of felt like, how are we wasting time? But in retrospect, it was very good because it really helped us to understand each other, communicate with each other, and humanize each other. And I think that was, I think those are opportunities that you're fighting an instinct of, is this productive? So to my mind, it's sort of a long-term investment in something.
Thank you. Yes, so things that I have done, the virtual happy hour thing we've done before. Also, as a manager, when I have team huddles, we do huddles twice a week. I try and I forget. Sat knows I forget sometimes because I'll be focused on work. But it's like you want to start the meeting with who has fun plans for the weekend, or give people a space to talk. And then if you are given a space to talk, like speak up. A lot of what we're going to touch on, really, you have to do. So for you introverted people, like I'm super introverted. I'll get up here and talk all day long. But if you ask me to sit with you and eat lunch, I'll be like, So I have a hard time sometimes speaking up as well. But a lot of this comes down to you making that move, or you providing that opportunity for someone else to have that space to speak. All right, so that's our first scenario. I could talk all day about this, but we want to get through at least a couple more scenarios, so we're going to move on to the next one.
All right. So I'm going to talk about, so we're trying to keep the timer on so we don't overdo it. 10 minutes for me?
10 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Lee. So, okay, I think everybody's been in a situation like this, at least I've been. So this is a team meeting where the team is really under pressure because this is week 2 of a very tight, high stakes, 3-week microservices automation project. The pressure is on, you can see that. So in this meeting, there's a guy with a blue jacket. His name is Lawrence. You can see him. He's full of energy, dominating every discussion with a flood of rapid-fire suggestions. He's setting the pace. And there's Gene, right of him, sitting quietly. So during a debate about a complex orchestration problem, he finds an opportunity and offers a completely different, very respectfully, which could be a potentially game-changing approach, one that could solve not the current problem at hand, but multiple problems. What's the reaction? Lawrence immediately shuts it down. That sounds way too complicated. Let's just stick with what we know. We know this, right? We have dealt with such people. The tragic punchline here is, by the end of the week, the team is still struggling. Their solutions based on what they know, quote unquote, haven't worked. And they are facing the very issues Gene's dismissed idea, and I'm emphasizing dismissed, right, would likely have prevented. His quiet genius went unheard and the project suffered. So I call this person the invisible genius. He's there but not there. So this scenario is not about heroes or villains. I'm not making Lawrence a villain here, right? It's about a common dynamic where valuable, quietly offered insights get lost in the noise of a fast-paced, high-pressure environment. So if you guys get a clear picture of this problem, let's explore some of the discussion questions. First one is, what did you specifically notice about Lawrence's suggestions versus Gene's idea? How were they received differently by the team or by Lawrence himself? And you can see all the people, some of them are angry, some of them are fatigued, some of them are just lost. So anybody, what do you think this guy on the left of Lawrence is thinking? Or the girl and the guy? Just informal.
Again, is this a crazy scenario, or have you all experienced some form of this before?
I have, so I can relate to that. We got Neetu Jain. So what do you think some of the people are like? How are they perceiving Lawrence's rapid fire suggestions and Gene's quiet idea?
People give up, they stop engaging. They're like, okay, just let us know what you guys want to do, It's like, yeah, at one point I can say as the orange guy suggesting something, and then the blue coat guy was like, why are we so resistant to change? Well, it was not resistant to change. I was offering we should weigh in the pros and cons of the change, right? But the blue jacket guy is hell-bent on making that change go and doesn't want to entertain too much discussion because that will raise questions and then bring up things he doesn't want to bring. He wants to go with that change.
Correct.
And the rest of them don't want to engage in the debate. Because if they engage themselves in the debate, they'll get shut down as well. And they don't want to create a bad repo with anyone. So just stop engaging. Just you guys fight and decide, or somebody just let me know what you want me to do, and I'll do it.
Correct. So, considering that the team is now struggling with a very problem that Gene foresaw, how might Gene be feeling because Lawrence just shut him down, like pretty much yelled at him, and what do you think his engagement is going to be going forward? Right? He's not the only genius, but he's at least making that attempt. But he was shut down, so the others who may want to do now, they would not speak. So what do you think at least Gene is feeling? You think he will keep engaging, or he may start slowly be there but just checked out, or he will make another attempt in making his voice heard? What do you guys think? Anybody? Sagar, you know the answer. Okay. Okay.
You try a couple times, and when you're not heard 2 or 3 times, you just say, all right, forget it, whatever. I think this is why it's so important to have the team relationships that I talked about in the first place, because you all have experienced this, or a lot of you have, and you're probably thinking of it from your team's point of view when you experienced it. Lawrence here, the angry guy, and Gene, there's been a version of these on your team. Maybe you were one of those too. But depending on the team dynamics and how well the team knows each other, maybe I know that Lawrence is just throwing a fit today and he's going to be fine tomorrow and everything will resolve itself. Maybe I know that Lawrence is just permanently hard to deal with and whatever. So you approach the situation very differently based on how well you know your team. And if you haven't had those team building opportunities, whether you're remote or in person or a combination, then then you might not know how to engage in this situation. You might just be one that's like, I'm just going to back off and let them fight it out. Or you might need to step in, and maybe you have a relationship with Lawrence and you say, hey, Lawrence, give Gene a minute to chat. So it really all hinges on how well do you know your own team.
Right. Go ahead, Sagar. Hang on. I think let everybody hear.
Faster, Steve, faster. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah. So I have been in situations where the blue jacket guy, he's shouting in this particular scenario.
Hold your mic.
There have been people who yelled, and the next day they come and say sorry. So I thought, okay, it's a one-off, right? But after a month, again, the same thing happens.
Yeah, because it's just how they are. So, if you were in the room and you want to be an ally, how would you tackle? It's a very difficult situation. Yeah, if you have any opinion, how would you tackle right there and there?
Basically, maybe if I'm on the team and maybe I'll tell Gene to talk to him offline and see if he can understand. And if he changes his attitude later, then it's okay. But if it still continues couple of times thrice, then you go to his superiors or boss and just have a chat.
Okay.
Has anybody else been in this situation and had something that worked or maybe didn't work?
So my thing is, when do you go to the superior? Because that now another level of complexity. Right now, Lawrence could be, you could have just approached me personally. There was no need to go higher up. Right? That could become worse.
Yeah. So you give him opportunity. 2 or 3 times you give him opportunity. If he still doesn't change,
then you really have to evaluate.
You have no other option then.
Good. Anybody else? Any other thought?
I've found that sometimes, definitely depending on how big the thing that you're dealing with is, if it's something smaller and not super important, but you still want to get your idea out there, I found that often producing a very small proof of concept and showing it, even if nobody asked for it, sometimes helps. Sometimes it gets you in the situation where you anger yourself because, wow, I did this and nobody cared, but sometimes it does. So.
No, it's true. That is true.
I think that's great. And maybe even you might prove to yourself that, oh, my idea won't work. But you at least gave yourself a chance to find out instead of just being shut down.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're saying that if the
the idea for this workshop is to sort of find ways forward. I think the point should be that if you have an idea, that if you propose an idea, that really the best option is like you don't know everything, and there are smart people here, and that really we have an opportunity to understand what other ideas are there, and it's not this kumbaya everyone has great ideas because they don't, but the idea is like be open to new ideas and do that because sometimes there's gold there, you're ignoring it.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Well said. Ma'am?
Similarly, I'm not conflict averse, which is a skill in this world sometimes. And so I have taken people aside and said, hey, I want to have a one-on-one conversation with you because we're stuck in this situation. You seem to be dominating, and I'm sure you want to come to a better resolution, and maybe we should take a minute to listen to other people. And by the way, what's going on with you? You seem kind of, stressed out. So that's a sort of, side strategy that I've done that's been quite direct, but not public.
I love that you said that. Sat said in the beginning that this isn't about heroes and villains. Like Lawrence isn't a bad guy here. He's loud and he might be obnoxious and he might be dominating, but he's not the bad guy. Maybe he's having a bad day. So again, to take him aside and say, what's going on here? Or did you realize you can be an ally to Lawrence by helping him realize that he is loud and dominating and maybe he doesn't realize that he is. So it's not about, you got to protect the quiet guy because there's this other mean guy. It's like, no, we're all people and we could all use support. So I think that's great.
All right, so I think my time is up, and we're going to ask Lee to entertain us with scenario 3.
Awesome. Thank you both. Okay, so in this scenario, we have...
Hang on, is this the one or this is the one? Yep.
This is the one.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. All right. So we are in a team code review meeting. You can see here, right, that's what's happening. Spencer, the senior guy, right, on the team, he dominates the conversation. He gives all the feedback. He asks all the questions. While the rest of the team, you can see they're all staying quiet. And nobody asks questions, no comments, no one wants to contribute. So this dynamic just continues itself often. So let's pause here, unpack what's happening in this moment.
You could have at least changed my name, Lee. Like,
She said no.
Yeah.
a little on the
I
nose.
refuse. Right. So let's talk about some questions, right? From here, why do you think the other team members are keeping quiet in this code review? We can start from here.
Again, I bet you've experienced this if you're a developer on a team.
Anybody?
I've seen where people get called out about, oh, you don't know, something like that.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, if you're, we've seen that there's times when people say stuff and then they're told that you don't know this, you don't, I know better, I've done this, and then at that point the team just shuts down. And if they see that, they're doing this, especially like the senior people, the junior people like really won't say anything, right? So yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point, right? So we don't want to be judged. In the meanwhile, what do you think about this code review? Is productive? I mean, did we get all the voices heard? No, right? Yeah.
And most importantly, the code doesn't get better.
The code does not get better, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so personally, if I'm one of the other 4, if I'm silent, either I'm new to the team, I want to understand the culture, because there are things that they do it differently. Sometimes you say some architecture is not wrong because there are some limitations to it, some code is not wrong because something is there. That could be a reason that I would be quiet for the initial reviews, not for all the time. That would be the case when it happens when I join a new team. I tend to do that, but not like anything with Spencer as such, but it's just me being me, not enforcing in the initial reviews, but as we know to the team, and I'll just pitch in with small ideas as and when needed. So that's me.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, so there are multiple ways to handle. Sometimes there one solution, you have 2 or 3 solutions for that, right? So it's always good to give a benefit of doubt to the reviewer, right? And pick that solution sometimes.
Yeah. There are many ideas, right? Sometimes ideas not heard. It's not a productive code review. And also think about what's the impact on the team over the time, right? If this competes. So we kind of touch all the points here. Now let's see what allyship opportunities here. What would an ally do here to make sure everybody has a chance to speak up? Anybody? I mean, I heard some points, right? Being new, being junior developers, I don't want to be judged. But any opportunities here, we can make more voices, especially those underrepresented voices heard. Anything you guys tried in the past?
Calling out or setting up a strategy where every time there's a code review, everyone takes a turn ahead of time. So instead of calling them out ahead of time.
Awesome.
I have one idea too. I mean, not to make Spencer feel bad, right? Make Spencer the hero here, and there are no hero and villains. Say, okay, Spencer, you be the closer. And you say, okay, if you guys think I'm the lead, but I'm going to say, Joe, you do the review this time. And you help him, okay, maybe you missed it, so they're learning, but you be the closer, not the opener and the closer, right?
Yeah, so something that I found kind of similar to what she stated was that particularly if I'm like the author, I'll go around and ask each person that's on the call, what their issues are, if they have any, and get their feedback so that they don't have to feel like they need to speak up or they don't, but they are given an opportunity to actually respond. And that way no one person can kind of dominate the entire conversation.
Yep. Awesome. All right, so Spencer. So what could Spencer do to create a space for team to contribute?
This is hypothetical, right? This
It's
is
hypothetical.
If I were ever in the situation where I dominated code reviews because I was the senior developer, it hasn't happened. It's actually happened quite a bit. So there were like 3 of us on the team that were the senior people. And we set up a rotation. So every time code review came up, it was a different person assigned to it. I don't care how long you've been here. If you joined yesterday, you're still in charge of tomorrow's code review. There's no seniority needed. I would make sure that at least somebody else said something before I was kind of allowed to say something. I always have too much to say in code reviews and stuff. And nitpicky, just like dumb, you're a pixel off, that's me. Okay, so people love to hear that. But so taking turns doing the rotation as well as making sure that somebody else had something to say. Even if, I would call on people, Manny, anything to say? And you make that expectation clear that if you have nothing to say, then just say, no, I don't have anything to say. But even giving somebody the chance to say, looks good to me, still gets another voice in the pool, and then they maybe get used to speaking, and maybe in the future they have something to say. So just providing that space has worked out.
Awesome. So has anyone tried, just say some small acts, right? Some action saying, hey, especially for junior developers, what do you think, right? You agree? Or like you said, even they agree, they don't say anything, say, sounds good to me. Something just bring team together, can tune the shape of the entire team. Any other thoughts? I know it's the end of the day. Anything else you guys want to add? We are trying to make this more interactive. Yes.
I'll ask, especially with open source communities, it's tough at the beginning, and I think that the advice that came from over here about read, you have to understand the community. And then the other thing is you don't understand the constraints or limitations. And so a decision that in one world would be a great decision may not be a great decision because of the constraints. So I think it's also on everyone that joins a new community to sort of listen, slowly ask questions, and because you could, you know, like a decision's made and you could see like, hey, I really, I want to understand why this is made. And can you just help me understand that is different than like, hey, we should do this, this, or this. And so there's also something like that. But again, if Spencer is being, you know, difficult, I mean, that's tough. I think there's an onus on the new people to learn and understand, ask questions, but there's also an onus on the senior people to sort of be better.
Love that. Not only in the meetings, right? Also in the decision-making process, make sure everybody's voice is heard. All the voices matter. Awesome. Thank you.
Cool.
So not in terms of like a code review, but the code review because happens sort of online, right? So you can put your comments and all that. But in meetings, I think this is more relevant. If somebody is more vocal and if there's 15 minutes to speak, maybe that vocal person, not being bad, as you mentioned, but just has so much to say and says it all and takes up all 15 minutes, you know, that's another concern, so that every time, you know, he or she is speaking up. So in that ways, I think I have also tried myself and I've used it myself, and that's why I've tried encouraging my teams as well. Just give async feedback, you know, like we always have a chat coming. So like if 15 minutes is over, I love to hear anybody else's feedback. Those who did not get a chance, please send me a Slack on what do you think about it or what is your point of view. I also want to share that I don't know if it's part of my culture upbringing or whatever it is, but growing up, we try not to stick out. You know, so speaking up in meetings was always hard when I joined the workforce. Yeah. So it took me a lot of self-training of recognizing that gap after many times thinking that, oh, I knew that, I should have spoken that, you know. So, and now that I've grown my career, I recognize it's just personalities as well. That some people for some people, it's very easy to share their opinion, and some people self-doubt or double-check or wait for their turn to speak up, you know, those kind of things. So, you know, I see myself, if I notice that, I see myself as that a coaching opportunity, you know, to my mentees is like, take your space.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, that's exactly happened to me as well. It takes courage to
Happened
speak
to me
up.
too.
Happened
I
to you
mean,
too?
you know, especially we come from the countries where you have accents, like initially, it's kind of hard, right? So that's when, like me and Lee were talking initially this morning, right? People look at you funny, it's like they're trying to understand you, and you see their expression, then you say, never mind, right? But don't be shy, just speak slowly, speak clearly, right? The people will be heard.
Core tech companies where there are very few of my kind, you know, so just self-doubt, maybe they'll not take it seriously or something. Now I've overcome that, but, you know, that's another factor that plays in.
Yeah, find some allies. Awesome. So thank you. This is great discussion. Should we move on?
Yeah, I think with the time we have, I think we have some more scenarios if you want to just quickly.
We won't talk about them because there's not time, but you can imagine, stew it over as you go back home. But you've probably seen this as well, where you're on a team where you've got two people that like really work well together. They love working together. They get a lot done. And so they think things are amazing. And the rest of the team is like struggling. But these two they're just loving life. So you kind of, again, have two teams within a team. How do you make sure that all the awesomeness gets spread out from those two people to the rest of the team? Another scenario this is specifically talking about refinements. For example, I've seen this a lot where Sat, for example, is the one who just gives the estimations. Like he's the lead developer again, right? So you're asked what's the size of this story? Oh, Sat says it's a 3. Yeah, it's a 3. Whatever. Like everybody's just Sat, and nobody fights, nobody cares. So again, how do you make sure that in this situation everybody has a real voice? Are people really agreeing, or are they just doing something else while Sat gives all the estimations? So all these have commonalities among them. And from our experience over the last 20 years in development, like they come up a lot. So Don't ignore them. Be the ally that helps. Again, Sat's not the bad guy because he knows everything and he's doing the estimations, but maybe he could use some help in deferring to somebody else first, or maybe everyone else can use some help in speaking up first. So wrap us up, Lee.
Okay, sure. Allyship is not a role, right? It's a daily practice. So we just, organize some inclusive strategies here as examples. We can organize into 3 common roles here. For leaders, right, you set the tone and your action ripple, right? Model the active listening. Just, listen, pause, reflect. Don't rush to respond. Make sure you actually get the points. Try to set up like a safe environment so people can chime in without being judged. No fear, right? For facilitators, you hold the place, you hold the space where allyship, can grow, right? The couple of things really resonated with me, right, as a facilitator. Number 1, you watch dynamics, not just follow the agenda, right? As a program manager, we always have an agenda. That's a fundamental thing. But during the meetings or discussions, watch a dynamic, right? Who is talking? Who is quiet? And then you step in, right? You stop the imbalance whenever possible. Whenever, if one voice dominates, other people are quiet, step in to support the whole team. And then last one, everybody, right? We shape the culture moment by moment. We're all human beings. So let's be human, right? Support each other, and then be kind, show you care. We all care each other. The more we show up, support each other, right? With care, with curiosity, with courage, right? And the better teams we are, the better code the product will provide. So those are the strategies, right? The more we care about each other, make sure all the voices are heard, we'll be, better off.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you so much for spending your last hour with us. It's been, we hope you have gained something from this. We hope your conference experience was great. We just, again, being a human is difficult sometimes. And whether you're the hero or the villain of the story, it's tough to be a human, and it's tough to be in a group of humans. Like, as we get into teams, it can get even harder. So these are just, again, some general thoughts on how you can be an ally to your teammates around you. And your team isn't just your team at work. This can be your family. This can be your local PTA. This can be the sports group you're a part of. This is everywhere. These same dynamics happen everywhere, because whenever people get together, this is what happens. So we hope that at some point, whether at work or somewhere else, you recognize, hey, I'm in one of those situations that those people talked about at that amazing talk at the end of that conference I went to, and that you hopefully do something to be an ally to somebody else. We hope that you also receive feedback as someone is trying to be your ally, like be receptive to that as well. But thank you very much for coming, and that's all we have.
Thank you.